Okay, so here we are again. Look at that, the two old codgers, Daniel over here. And well, this is the reason we're here is because we are starting a new course. This is IS 505, and I'm in an idyllic place somewhere in El Salvador, whereas Daniel's right home. And because of that, I'm going to let Daniel do most of the talking because this is his course. Now, we've just finished IS 504, which is looking at the origins of Islam. Now we go the next step and we look at the whole history of Islam, not just the origins, but continuing on for 1400 years. And Daniel is the expert in this area. So that's why he's taking it. That's why he'll be the sole professor. I'll be there to help out, like Daniel was there to help me out. But it really is going to be his material. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to introduce it and just say that if you want to take this course, you need to sign up. And I've got the URL right there where you need to sign up. And you need to talk to Elliot Davis. Elliot, I'll have his email right there. You need to let him know that you want to take this course. You want to register for it. And of course, the course starts on, what's the date, Daniel? March the what?
It'll start on March 24th, Monday, March 24th, and it'll be 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Like all our courses, we always teach it on Monday night. That's Monday night, East Coast, United States. Wherever you are in the world, and we have about 23 different countries represented, you need to decide, or you need to find out when that is in your particular country. But that's 8 o'clock, and Daniel will be lecturing for 2 hours, and then he opens it up to Q&A. That's the beautiful thing about our courses at MAPI. We want to make sure that you get us live, so you get to hear us. We get to answer your questions. You use the material and apply it, and then come back and say, this didn't work, that worked. How do I do this? Or here's the question I got. How do I answer it? That's why we're going to be there. Yes. Now, in order to take this course, you have to be a Christian. I know some of you complain and say, listen, this should be for everyone, but this is a seminary. This is Veritas International University. So we have to make sure that Christians take this course because it is for Christians to get them ready to go to minister with Muslims. And that's why we have to really give that, caveat. So this course starts on March 24th and goes right up to May 12th. Always 8 weeks. We always do 8 weeks. And we want to make sure that you are there for as many Monday nights as you can. For some of you, it's early in the morning Tuesday. But that's okay. You don't have to be there live. You can be fast asleep. We record every lecture, and then I send it to you the next day. You're going to get it on Tuesday. So you have the luxury or the time or when you do have the time or energy to watch it at your own leisure. But we will send you every one of the lectures and the PowerPoints because Daniel is going to be putting a PowerPoint out that will be yours. And he'll also be introducing or offering some PDFs of books and articles, things like that, that correspond to what he's teaching. So Daniel, now that we're in a new location here in El Salvador, let me ask you, what is this course all about? It's 8 weeks long. Can you kind of unpack week by week by week by week so people know what they're going to be learning?
I'd be glad to. This is one of my favorite courses. And really, I call it the rest of the story because, of course, we have focused on the origins of Islam, and Jay has done a fantastic job with that, as he always does. But now we need to see how everything fits together up to the modern times so that you understand where Islam came from, how it developed, how the mindset has formed, and why there are such differences between Islam and, say, Christianity. Because we see, when we understand the history, how they were intertwined for so long, and then there was a breakage. And we need to understand how that happened and why it happened, because it really influences what is happening today. Okay, so where I'm going to start in the first week is dealing with the Near East before Islam. So we're going to look at the past before the supposed time that Islam began. We're going to look at religions of late antiquity, so we understand the context of the area. We're going to look at Arabia even before Islam. Focus a little bit more on the 7th century to see what was there, a lot from non-Muslim sources. We're going to look at what oral literature was like in those days because supposedly Islam was transferred and developed through this oral literature. And we're going to look at the origin of Arabic writing. Especially, we'll find some very interesting things because we realize that it comes from the north, not from the Hijaz. Different Arabic in those two places. The second week, we're going to focus on the emergence of Islam. We're going to look at where Muhammad fits in, who this Muhammad was. We're going to look at what they talked about as far as the first leaders, like the Rashidun, the first four caliphs, and how that plays in, whether it happened or not. But then we're going to get into the early formation of Islam from a different perspective. We will look at what we call intermediate monotheism. We're going to talk about different theories about how all this came together and really focus on what I call the neo-revisionist view. Week 3 is when we'll get into the early Islamic controversy with Christianity. And so we'll look at the Quran and Christianity, some of the themes and some of the differences, and then early Muslim polemics and apologetics in regard to that. But then we're going to get into the Umayyad period because this is where it all began. And we'll look at the expansion and the formation of Islamic polity. We'll look at Abdul Malik especially, and a little bit of John of Damascus because he was right there to record a lot of what was going on.
And Daniel, you did your doctorate on John of Damascus, so this is really your bread and butter. You're the world's expert on this guy, and he's pretty significant, isn't he?
Oh, much more so now. I did not realize this when I started doing my research, but I'm so glad I did because John plays a pivotal part in this whole scenario of that time. And then week 4, we'll look at the consolidation of Islam from 750 to 1000. So that's where we'll be looking at the Abbasid revolution. They came in and they pushed the Umayyads out. And I just found out from Marcus Gross and the Inara Society that what they think is that the Abbasid lineage really came out of the Umayyad family line. So it's very interesting what we're finding out now. But we'll look at the religion and the politics because that was where a lot of it developed. We'll look at especially 3 areas of the Islamic theology, pivotal for understanding what's going on even today, why they chose certain routes. Uh, on top of that, we'll look at what Sharia is all about, how it developed. This is the Islamic law because this is everything in regard to why Muslims do what they do. And we'll look at the people of the book, which is the Dimitude. And this is um, how Jews and Christians supposedly were treated at that time. Okay, in week 5, we'll look at medieval Islam, and this is about 1000 to 1500. Characteristics of the medieval Islamic world. A lot happened during this time, a lot of the fighting, a lot of the expansion. But we'll look at early Sufism just to see how that broke off and why it broke off, because they wanted something different. And we'll look at different sects of this Shiism as well as the Sunnis, what the differences are, so you understand how that fits together. But one of my favorite areas is going into the so-called Golden Age, because this is where the Muslims try to say that they were the forerunners of all the science and the architecture of all these um, discoveries that were made in the Middle East at that time and in Spain. And we'll see that there is a little bit of truth to that, but the truth is much different than what you would realize. So we'll look at science and medicine and also what is called Kalam philosophy. Um, but basically, it all leads to, in about the early 12th century, to what Robert Riley calls a closing in the Muslim mind. Fascinating stuff. He just does a tremendous job. We'll watch a video from Robert Riley and get a better understanding of what he's saying. Um, and then we'll go on to week 6, Islam against the world. This is where the Crusades fits in. Finally, the West wakes up to what's going on after 400 years, and they feel like they need to do something. and we'll go through the history of jihad and how that worked out, and how and why it's still going on, even more so these days. We'll pull in the Mongols because they really ravished the land and set a different tempo and a different tenor to what Islam was at that time. And again, we need to look at the history of the Christian-Muslim relations in that time between 1220 and 1500. Week 7, we'll jump into the modern history of Islam, 1500 to the present. We'll look at the three major um, groups that were developed at that time: the Safavid Empire, Mughal Empire, and especially the Ottoman Empire. And then we'll tread into the Palestinian dilemma, talk about whose land it is, a little bit of the history, what's going on, and why it's such a mess today. And that will lead, of course, into week 8 when we talk about Islam fully in the 21st century, where it's going, what what we need to do as Christians in reaching out to Muslims. We'll talk about fundamentalism and terrorism, and then we'll talk also about our way forward. And that's very important to really bring this together. So, history of Islam from the beginning to where we are today. And that's where we are, Jay, in 8 weeks.
Well, that's an awful lot you're packing in. And this is the third time you've done it. And I've sat through each time. And every time he does it, he brings in new material and explains new controversies and does such a great job of bring it down to layman's terminology, which we can understand. For many of you, this will be the first time you're hearing this. Daniel is probably one of the best communicators I know, in not only on this subject, but on so many to do with Islam. And you're going to see why so many of the controversies happening today stem from things that have happened way in the past, and why they're still continuing. And though they're confusing to us, Daniel will show you why they're not confusing if you look and see where the antecedents are to what's happening. So listen, we're talking about March 24th, not very long away. We will need you to sign up. There it is. Now, obviously, there are 3 different levels that you can take this course. At the top level, this is for master's students, for a master's degree. And you'll have to have a bachelor's if you want a master's degree, obviously. But for master's degree students, the whole course costs around $1,300 for just this course, IS 505, the history of Islam. But there are some of you who don't really need to take it for a master's degree. You want to use it in your ministry, or you're interested in the material itself. You don't have to do any papers. You don't have to read any books. Others, the master's degree, do. You don't have to participate in weekly discussions. The master's students do. You just want to listen and hear the lectures, but at the same time, you want to also participate with the master's students in discussions during the week. That's called audit. And you can audit this course for $350 for the whole course. That's right, $350. You heard it right. Now, there's still others of you who you don't really care about the discussions during the week. You don't want to have the books to read. You just want to listen to the lectures and receive the PowerPoints, even be live at the lectures to ask your questions, or just receive the next day. That's called personal enrichment. And every one of our courses, we have these 3 levels. If you're doing it for personal enrichment, that's only $225 for the entire course. So $1,300 for the whole course for those of you who are doing it for master's degree. It may be a little more if this is the first time you're doing a master's degree. There's some administrative costs that are included. For those of you who want it for audit, $350, and those of you who want it just for personal enrichment, it's only $225. But we're talking about March the 24th. We want to see as many of you as possible there. This is the 3rd time I'm hearing it from Daniel. I'm excited just what he's saying, just to hear all this new important material, because it impacts on Islam today. It impacts on us today, what he's going to be revealing and what he's going to be teaching. But you need to register, and there you see is the registration right down below you with Elliot Davis. You need to register with him. We can't wait to see you. This is going to be fun. 8 weeks together, like we've done for the last 8 weeks, another 8 weeks. And we're going to be able to see the whole history of Islam in 8 weeks. Okay, Daniel, one last word you want to say?
I'm really excited about this course because it really pulls all of this together. What Jay started with origins, and now we need to see what has happened since that time, all the way up to the present. And it'll help you understand the Muslim mind better. It'll help you understand why you need to study in certain areas and really bring it together. And that's what I hope to do in this course, give you the understanding and the ammunition and the apologetic overview so that you will be better prepared to reach out to your Muslim friends.
Great stuff. Well, we're going to be together on the 24th. I want to see as many of you there. Right. This is Daniel and Jay. We're thousands of miles apart. So are some of you. This is fun. Even though we're thousands of miles apart, we're right next door to each other. And the same thing's going to happen as we do week by week by week. Monday nights, 8 o'clock till 10 o'clock. Sometimes it goes to 11 or 12 with the question and answer for 8 weeks up until May 12th. God bless you. Daniel and Jay, over and out.